Greetings and welcome to Bitches in the Buckle. I am your hostess with the mostest and supplying the Twinkies this evening, Judith.
And I am your host with the most, supplying the Billy Goat's gruff, Stephen. And welcome to Bitches in the Buckle.
Grab your barbecue and get your bibs on. We have a special guest here today, Christopher Langley, who is going to be discussing what it means to be male and pagan in the Bible Belt.
I'm excited to hear about that.
Me too.
Because I thought I was the only one.
I really did.
I thought I was the only one.
Well, see, Steven, there's a problem with that. Because, well, see, I thought I was the only... Wait, no. I still have my boobs. Never mind. With that being said, we do have a couple of things that have been going on lately this week. Amazing things happened today in the state of Oklahoma. Oh my God, did you hear what happened?
Well, let's start.
Oh my God,
let's jump into it.
I'll tell you, the courts refuse to see the big thing about the gay marriage. How do you feel about that, Steven?
Okay, well, first of all, yay gays.
Woo-hoo!
Very happy for us. But I've become such a jaded, bitter old queen in my old age. I have to tell you, I'm just... in fact, I had a discussion with some friends of mine earlier today, and we were talking about it, and we were like, you know, this is great news, and I was like, love is only for the lucky, and it's, you know, I just don't feel that lucky. And I don't mean to start it out on a downer, and I'm sorry for saying that, but I just feel like, you know, it's love is just for the lucky, you know?
Well, it's not for the lucky, it's just you haven't found the right man yet. And when that man comes along, you better let me meet him first, because I'll tell him. I'll make sure.
Well.
If I don't scare him off.
Well.
You know.
You know. I don't know. I felt like, you know, it's great that the courts won't hear it, and
it's a step in the right direction.
It's a huge step in the right direction. And didn't you say that? Because I haven't checked the local news. I've only checked like national news surrounding this.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know.
Mary Fallon, I'll tell you. Let me tell you about what's going on with that. She mentioned something about saying how the voice of the people were not able to be heard because the voice of the courts, because justices who are not elected by us made the decision for us. But yet, should I remind people that we have the ability to go and vote for our presidents every 4 years? And those presidents, once a justice position is open, choose a justice for us. So, in essence, folks, we do have that power to choose our justices. You just gotta choose the president. And the president's gonna choose someone he deems worthy. So, it's all about getting out there and voting, folks.
Well, but is anybody really surprised by Mary Fallon's statement?
I don't think so. I really don't. It's Fallon. Should we really be surprised at that?
No, and here's the reason why. Because it just seems like, and again, this is the jaded, bitter old queen that I am, it just seems that everybody is towing their particular party lines when it comes to this. And you know, when it comes to Republicans, let's just put this out there, they are so far behind the greater world that we live in. Most Americans are behind gay marriage. Most Americans are at this point. And to toe the archaic party line of saying, well, you know, we voted and, you know, we put, and we banned it, nobody cares anymore. You know?
Well, in defense of in the aspect, it's not all Republicans, because I can guarantee you there's 2 Republicans that I know that have just gotten married. Both, and I'm going to speak for my mother-in-law here, who has a gay couple who got married up in New York. Jack and John are probably the most conservative couple that I've ever met, and in fact, I think my dad would get along with them if it weren't for their preference. But you know, hey. But I think it's mostly because of their fiscal choices. They're more financially conservative. As far as that being concerned, they're more the financial folk, which, you know, hey, when you own a business, at the same time, you gotta pinch pennies where you can.
Well, but and getting back to Mary Fallon,
yeah, sorry about that. But.
No, it's fine. But wouldn't it have been interesting for her to say, actually come out and say, you know what, the majority of Americans nowadays don't care.
Right, exactly, and that is the case.
Exactly, because that is the case. You're absolutely right. Wouldn't it have been interesting and much more welcoming for her to say, you know what, I've got better things to worry about than
my career,
than if gay people get married or not.
Yeah.
I mean, because clearly most of Americans don't care, and you know what, neither do I.
You know what? Let them be happy. Let everybody be happy with who they are with.
Exactly. And so for her to say that, it's just like nobody's surprised, and it's she missed an opportunity.
Yeah, and I think
she missed a huge opportunity.
The biggest thing is she's treading lines on both parties. She's getting enemies on both sides, and I think this is gonna. I hope, knock on wood, this is the last time she's in here, because personally, I'd like to see her out.
Right.
But that's my opinion, and that's I'm sticking to it.
Right.
Moving on from politics.
Congratulations, all gay people.
Woo-hoo!
And love schmub.
We do marriages. We do weddings.
Yes.
We are both ordained.
We are.
Those who are getting married, you could give us a call, and we'll.
Yes, Labyrinth Temple. Me and my housemate have a temple, and we are both ordained ministers. And let me just say this for the record, because I have been, a bitter, jaded old queen. If you come to me and you say, Stephen, I want you to marry me, I will be more than happy to do so, and so will my housemate. We will marry, and since, of course, now it's legal, we have a couple of more hurdles to go through, but they're only administrative hurdles at this point. Us at Labyrinth Temple are more than happy to accommodate your wedding needs. So if you're in the Oklahoma City area, look us up on Facebook, Labyrinth, Facebook.com/Labyrinth Temple OKC, and we'll be happy to get you hitched.
And if you need a photographer, I also do pictures. So, heck.
Right. And you're ordained as well.
I'm ordained as well. Dragon Meadows on Facebook, or clawwritings.com. I do tarot readings there, as well as does Stephen on travelingtarot.com.
Travelingtarot.com, but when we'll get to that in a minute.
Yes,
but,
definitely.
I think it might be funny for you to take pictures while you're marrying someone.
Oh yeah. Okay. Do you?
Click,
click, click, click, click. Do you? Click, 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 click. Now make love to the camera. All right. Okay. Okay, that should be for the honeymoon suite. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, ladies. All right, or gentlemen.
All right, let's move on.
News of the is there anything else news of the week?
I have a few news articles that I brought for tonight that I think might be interesting for us to discuss. Would you like to hear them?
Of course.
All right. Let's see. We already talked about same-sex marriage, so we don't have to talk about that again. Again, congratulations to all my fellow gay and lesbian queer people out there, we hope that you can get married very, very quickly. So that's good news.
And also for those who are getting married, I suggest premarital counseling is always the best. You get your marriage certificate from 55 to 5.
Right.
And you also get to figure out what the other person's really like in marriage counseling, I'll tell you.
Right. So next up is this article I found on the Joplin Globe, Joplin, Missouri. Warlock found guilty of sexual abuse.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, yes.
Oh.
A West Virginia man who prosecutors say conducted ritualistic sex acts with young girls who believed him to be a warlock has been convicted on multiple counts of sex abuse involving juveniles. Jurors found James Roland Irvin, 57, of Bluefield, guilty Monday of 30 counts of sexual assault and sexual abuse involving juveniles.
That's disgusting.
I know. It goes on to say Irvin faces a minimum sentence of 220 years in prison. It's not long enough, according to Mercer County Assistant Prosecuting Attorney George Stittler. Now, here's the thing. There's a couple of things about this case that kind of got me. And the first one was the verdict came after 3 days of deliberation by the jury in the case, which gained claims of Nolan's use of magical powers surfaced during testimony. Now, folks, let's pause here a minute. It took the jury 3 days.
Folks, there's
I mean, come on.
I'm going to point out this as a person who's studying forensics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you used magical powers in this case, and I'm using quotation marks because in this case, I really void that. I'm kind of biting the fact that he really was a warlock in Perset because, you know, that whole the turnaround of 3. You don't want to have that kind of shit coming back and biting you in the ass.
Well, and
literally.
Right. Right. And
they told him in prison. I'll tell you, it will.
Right, and not only that, and let me just say this: the term warlock. Here's the thing.
Without a doubt.
Shows like Bewitched. And, you know, my favorite show, Charmed, I still love that show. I don't care what you say. Screw you. I love it. Use the word warlock to describe male witches, although Charmed, after its first season, stopped calling male witches warlocks. So, but because of shows like Bewitched, it became in our popular vernacular to call male witches warlocks. Well, here's an education moment for you folks. Male witches, guess what they're called?
Witches!
They're not called warlocks. A warlock is not a male witch. A warlock is, in fact, a liar, a thief, a charlatan, someone who was not well respected in the village communities and was actually probably thrown out of many villages and communities that he found himself in. So in this case, yeah, the guy was a warlock. I mean, if
he was, by the definition.
By the definition, yes. But it's very, very important to note here that warlocks are bad people.
In general. Witch is good, warlock's bad. Get this straight.
Right. Police say Irvin used those claims of magical powers to get close to children and sexually abuse them. According to an arrest report in the case, a teenage girl told a Bluefield Police Department detective her mother was engaged in Wiccan and pagan practices with Nolan and believed him to be a magical warlock. And again, I gotta pause here because it's driving me insane.
The education that needs to happen here.
Right.
People that practice Wicca do not usually associate with people who associate themselves as being a warlock because of the negative connotation that goes along with it, and B, it's just something you don't do. It's like for a devout devotee of Odin just summon Loki. You just don't do it.
Right, and exactly. And the other part that kind of sickens me about this is that apparently the mother knew and was engaging with him. Now, why the mother has not been brought up on charges or anything like that, I don't know. The article did not say, but it just drives me crazy when they say that they were engaged in Wiccan and pagan practices. No, they weren't. They were engaged in something completely degenerate and opposite of what we as Wiccans and pagans and witches believe. Completely opposite. Let's see. There was something else in here. Let's see. Let's see. Let me find it. The 17-year-old testified last week she was approximately 10 years old when Irvin began to sexually abuse her.
That's disgusting.
I know. Irvin, who was living in Bluefield with the girls and their mother. So apparently he was living with them. Now again, where?
They're here. That's what I want to know.
Right.
And why isn't she, there's something that, innate. I can't have kids. And this disgusts me because every part of my female being urges to have that maternal, there's still a maternal instinct inside of me. I would be just as soon to have my throat, if any man got between, if I had a child and some man got between me and my child, I would rip his throat out. And you can quote me on that if you like. But, seriously, you don't, it's a, if she's really Wiccan and she practices a pagan instinct, there's a mother bear inside of her and she needs to release it. If there's not, she's neglecting.
Right. And not only
and Mama Bear ain't hiding.
Right. And not only that, but there was a time when there wasn't a lot of information about our religion out there. There was a time when there wasn't a lot of information, and so people were kind of making their own way as well as best as they possibly could. But nowadays, with the advent of the internet, information is everywhere. If you want good information about who we are as people, what our religion is about, it can be found. And again, the article says nothing about whether the mother was brought up on charges or not. It just says that this Irvin guy, James Roland Irvin, 57 of Bluefield, is going to be in jail for a good long time, but it says nothing about the mother at all. The last thing that I want to say about this article, because it does get graphic, and so we're going to skip over that part, but one of the witnesses said that she said she vaguely remembered being alone with Irvin, sometimes crying. She recalled being in Irvin's bedroom. I remember crying a lot, she asked. Why were you crying? Stifler asked. Stifler, of course, was the assistant prosecutor there. And she said, I didn't want to be around him. And he said, well, why not? And she said, well, I don't like him. The stuff he said and the stuff that he did, he tried to use witchcraft on me. And again, this has nothing to do with witchcraft, ladies and gentlemen. It just, I guess, it gets.
There's no other term for it. And as a person, one of the few things I remember in my summer class this last term is asking my professor how he dealt with it, because you don't see a light side to everybody when you're dealing with situations like this, because nine times out of 10, when you're dealing with the pedophile situation like this is,
right,
and please bear with me, the child doesn't come home.
Right.
And this is something that tears. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted just because of the, there's a dragon inside. The people call me Lady Dragon for a reason. The dragon inside me is like saying this is wrong, and there's no point to it. There's the human inside of me is telling me this is wrong.
Right.
This is evil.
Right.
There is no, people are trying to doubt against the word, but this kind of stuff, when someone harms a little child, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's wicked.
Right. Exactly. It's not Wicca. It's not wicked.
Wicca. It's wicked.
Right.
And wicked is twisted.
Right.
And it takes our faith and our religion and twists it into something that's not good. Right.
All right, let's move on to another sad story. This one coming out of Canada, Barrie, Ontario, Canada. The Sun News reports that a man by the name of Mark Dobson, 24, admits to killing his girlfriend, 32-year-old Mary Hepburn of Barrie, and their 52-year-old friend Helen Dorrington of Cold Lake, Alta. Both women were found with their heads partially severed and surrounded by tiny dolls at a travel lodge on May 2nd, 2012. And this guy is just now coming to the court system, and they're trying to get him declared mentally incompetent. But regardless, he's pled not guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder, and he basically said that this Dobson guy said it was supposed to be a suicide cult pact, and that it was his job to do the other 2 in and then kill himself. Dobson and the women were demon worshippers who met on an internet chat line called the Joy of Satan. Yes, folks, it's called the Joy of Satan. And I don't even know what to say about that. Do you?
I am going to put the only thing that I want to do right now is do a face palm, because first off, I've seen 2 faces of Satanism, because this is where it brings up Satanism here.
Right.
And since we've done Pagan Pride Day a few years in a row, and the first year that I remember doing it, we had a couple of issues where it wasn't such a nice run-in, and I think there might have been some things behind it that I wasn't aware of. But at the same time, I've known some pretty decent Satanists, and I'm not going to judge based on a religion. Who am I to do it? I get judged on my religion every day I walk in to my own house. I mean, but it's just like sitting here, and not only does it taint their faith, it taints ours, because that brings it to a point where they see, Baphomet, which I know a lot of Wiccans follow, that they choose as their patron god. It's not my choice. I'm actually, I follow more of a Celtic call, but that would taint their side too, because you're saying this, and now people are associating them with Satan. Right. And Satan in the Bible is not that nice of a guy, okay, guys?
Right, and it basically puts everybody in a bad light, And granted, I don't know a lot about Satanism. I know that we had a black mass here in town a week or 2 ago. I have a friend who actually went to that. I don't believe he's a Satanist, but I think he just went
to see what it's like.
Yeah, to see what it was like. And I've never met a true Satanist, and so I can't speak on it. I just know that ritualistic killing, I can almost guarantee that Satanism has nothing to do with that. Certainly not paganism, certainly not Wicca. And
again, it goes back to the past. I think people want to stuff their nose into a past past relationship. Well, hey, you know, what in the past where you guys, you know, there's no, as a wise man once said, there's no religion truly that's 100% innocent.
Right.
Exactly. But it's like if you shove your nose in the past, how are you going to see the present?
Right. There was one other thing in this article. Well, actually, two things. The graphic part is Dobson admitted that after he killed the women with the utility blade, yes, folks, a utility blade. He slashed his own neck and arms and climbed into a warm bath, and he expected to die, but apparently the water overflowed and flowed into the hallway. And so hotel staff were alerted. And the other thing, so when police came, Dobson said just a minute and opened the door, naked and wrinkled from sitting in the water for hours, which tells me, now this man, by the way, sidebar here, and let me read this quote, word for word from the newspaper. It says, when motel employees banged on the door, they heard someone say, just a minute. And Dobson opened the door naked and wrinkled from sitting in the water for hours. Now, this tells me that A, he probably sliced himself up the wrong way, because if you slice yourself up the right way, it's not a matter of hours, it's a matter of minutes before you die.
And if those who are really thinking about slicing themselves up the right way, please call a suicide hotline. Just saying. Right.
So he probably just freaked out and decided, well, or if he did do it, slice it the right way, it was very, very superficial. You know, the wound was very superficial.
Just to make it look for the girls, I guess. You know, hey.
Yeah, the already dead girls in the living room, you know, with half their heads chopped off. Anyway.
Lovely images.
Yeah.
Pizza time.
So Dobson chattered on about sending himself and the women to another planet, and that it had to be done before dawn or they wouldn't take them. Quotes, they wouldn't take them.
Another planet. Oh, it sounds like Scientology right there. I mean, I'm sorry, but here we go.
Yeah. And the last... Right, let's not get into Scientology. We do not want people in white vans following us around the bus.
Tom Cruise.
And an agreed statement of facts, Crown Attorney Shannon Curry stated all three were Wiccans. And this again drives me insane. There is nothing in our religion that says
kill yourself,
kill your friends, and if you do it before dawn. By the way, there was something in here that said that
they will take you to another planet.
That they'll take you to another planet, and they did it on Beltane, by the way, for whatever reason, but
Beltane is more of a let's get it on, baby. We're more about let's. Right. It's about sex, guys.
Right.
It's about love, not death. Thank you.
Right. It just drives me crazy because it lumps us in. You know, it just lumps us all into sickness and depravity, and you know, we shouldn't be surprised. You know. We should not be surprised when people out there only have these images of us to compare to. It's sort of like, now I'm a black man, right? So it's almost like, you know, in the media, it used to be that all you saw with black men were criminals.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you on that, but I was actually raped by a black guy. No offense.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, dude, that's the comparison. If I held to the fact that what happened to me to every other person that I met, where would I be? And you're like one of my best girlfriends, dude.
Right. Right, and so that's the point.
That's the point.
Right, the whole point is people don't have anything good to compare it to. And the last thing that I want to say about this before we move on to the last
We need a happy moment.
to the last news article is this is why we as witches, we as good witches, we as pagans, we as Wiccans, we as heathens need to come out of the closet. We need to come out of the broom closet and say, this is who we are, this is what we believe in, this is who we are. Because if we don't, then all
the stereotypes,
that's all they have. That's all anybody has. And until we prove them otherwise, that's all they have. And so, that's my little soapbox moment. Let's move on.
Is there any happy news you got?
Yes!
I mean, come on, Stephen. Get the best for last.
Yes.
Something to smile about.
Yes.
I'm about to cry.
Speaking of coming out of the closet, we call it the broom closet. Speaking of coming out of the broom closet, Pagan Pride Days. We just had one of our own, like 2 weeks ago or something.
Yeah,
like
and so did North Dakota about a week after we did.
Right.
Fargo.
And Las Cruces, Nevada, Riverside, California, and Tacoma, Washington have all had theirs within the last couple of weeks as well. So when we say it's time to come out of the closet, out of the broom closet, and stand up and be counted, there are people out there that are doing that. There are people out there that are showing what real paganism is, what real heathenism is, what real Wicca is. And so it's not as if it's just you and me, in our silly little podcast. Like we're the only ones. No,
we're not.
There are people out there that are doing good things.
And there is, right now on the UCO campus, there is still the Athena Society. It is still running. I believe 2 Thursdays ago they had their first meeting. I'm no longer a part of it, but I will say if there are any UCO campus people who are looking for a pagan community that needs to either be there, Grace Rundle is a leader. Check her out. If you guys need anybody to talk to, I'm always on campus Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And Fridays I'm available to talk to anybody who has questions on what paganism is.
Very good. And of course, me, Labyrinth Temple, Traveling Tarot. We'll get to all of that in a minute.
Yes, definitely.
The last article that I have here is, and I didn't write down the woman who wrote it. It was a blog. It was on the Huffington Post. It's about a year old. It came out in July of last year. And it says the 7 best things about being a Wiccan. And I thought it might be cool when we bring on our guest to ask him what's the best thing about him being a Wiccan, and we can talk about what's the best thing about being a Wiccan as well. And I'll just
or you can incorporate it to being pagan.
Right. Right. And I'll just run down these real quick. She says, the first thing is Wicca teaches spiritual empowerment. I love following a path that honors my own spiritual authority and that of others, teaching, if it harms none, do as you will. Let me repeat that.
If it harms none, do what you will.
Anyway. A deceptively simple and profoundly wise maxim. We mind our own business and have no mandate to convert others or tell anyone else what to do. If it harms none, do what you will. Wicca honors the divine feminine. In my religion, the feminine soul is empowered and the female body revered, and the goddess is right there at the center of everything. Wicca's masculine traditions, which we'll be talking about later on tonight, such as the Horn God and the Green Man, also offer delightful embodiments of sacred masculine energy. 3, Wicca is earth-friendly. 4, Wicca has a rich spiritual vocabulary. And what she means by that, deities from all cultures and aspects of the divine. Kali, Bridget, Aphrodite, Yemaya, and Kuan Yin. Number 5, Wicca honors the physical. Sex, food for the body, and the physical world are revered as sacred in Wicca. We even dance for devotion and celebration. All acts of joy and pleasure are my rituals, says the traditional Wicca text called the Charge of the Goddess. The goddess is immanent in the world, not apart from it. 6, Wicca involves creative freedom. Each celebration, solitary or shared, is a creative, expressive act. And finally, number 7, Wicca nurtures family bonding. My favorite multi-generational activities, from maypoles to jack-o'-lanterns to Yule trees to Easter eggs, are all traditional parts of Wicca celebrations. So I really wanted to end on that. I mean, it's a longer article, but I kind of cut it short because I didn't want to just be sitting here reading. But there are really great things about being Wiccan. Yes, I did read some really horrible stories, but that's only because this is the world that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to be, we as good witches, we as sane people need to stand up and be counted, and that's all. And Wicca is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful religion, and I am happy to be a part of it. Did you want to talk about what you enjoy about being a Wiccan?
Well, specifically, I'm not exactly Wiccan because I follow more of the Celtic path, and the Wiccans, I believe, came from, well, they derived from Celtic, but they've kind of got a collaboration of all of it, kind of stirred into one little cult.
Right.
I find it more to the fact that it's tailored to what you want. Tailored who you are. You ask 100 different people what they believe, you're going to get 101 different answers.
Mm.
Because no two people, and that's quoting my husband, who's going to be our special speaker tonight, no two people exactly believe exactly word for word the same darn thing.
Right.
There's a lot of you can agree on, a lot of the numinosity, which is the reverence for the earth and for all things that are living. Mm-hmm. The aspect that and everything is a living creature. The aspect that we need to stand together, but at the same time, I think the reverence for the goddess, and each of us is called by a different set of deities. And it is just amazing how truly, you know, it's not just about having a deity that you pray to that's not non-existent in your life. It's about having a relationship with someone that you can call on and say, hey, listen, I need help.
Right.
You know, and that's what's awesome.
Right. And it's also about embodying.
And lifting.
Yeah, embodying the deity within you.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things that I love about being Wiccan, and I can say this personally, is that Wicca requires personal responsibility. Mm-hmm. It's not like you can, you know, sin, quote unquote, sin for 6 days a week, go to church on the 7th day, confess all your sins, wash yourself clean, and start all over again. You know, that's not it at all. In fact, karma is such, and I believe you touched on it really briefly. The 3, you know, the power of 3. Yes, I know I just quoted a Charmed thing, but Charmed is one of my favorite shows. Screw you if you don't think so. I love that friggin' show. Anyway, yes, whatever you do comes back to you 3 times as hard. And so it requires personal responsibility. And I love that because that means that I have to watch out for what I do, what I say, how I treat people, so that I make sure that I I'm not creating more karmic debt for myself. That's all.
Exactly. And it's more of the what do you want to come back to you? And how do you want it to come back to you? So,
Right.
with no further ado, I think we're going to go for a brief break here.
Okay.
And allow us readers, but before we go, I'm going to go ahead and read something out of the Spiral Dance, which is kind of ties it in from the Starhawk. If you're cool with that.
Love Starhawk.
Which, since we're going to be bringing in the male aspect, we have the male shamans dressed in skins and horns. This is on page 3, Witchcraft as a Goddess Religion. Dressed in skins and horns, the identification with the god and the herds. The female priestesses presided naked, embodying the fertility of the goddess. The life and death were a continuous stream, and dead were buried as if sleeping within a womb, surrounded by their tools and the ornaments, so that they might wake into a new life in the caves and Alps. Skulls of the great bears were mounted in niches where they were pronounced oracles and that guided the clans to game. And the lowland pools reindeer does their bellies with stones that embodied the souls of the deer were submerged in the waters of the mother's womb, so that the victims of the hunt would be reborn. With this being said, that does not sound like anything of those killers and rapists that we've been dealing with. So I'm just going to point that out as well.
Right.
It's beautiful.
All right, let's go take a pee break.
And we'll be right back after these brief messages.
Bitches in the buckle.
And we are back.
We are back.
Thank you for waiting. That was good. All right, and starting off, we would like to go ahead and introduce our guest of the evening, Mr. Christopher Langley, the husband of the
husband of you,
the husband of me, the hostess with the mostest, and the Jolly Green Giant,
and the Twinkies.
And the Twinkies.
Can't forget the Twinkies.
Can't forget the Twinkies.
Yeah.
But we are going to discuss tonight. You're mainly going to be discussing what does it mean to be male and pagan here in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, that is a topic that I could speak on about probably 10 podcasts about, but I'll go ahead and spare you all the details. I know I have a big mouth, and when it gets going, it doesn't stop. So,
well, let me ask you this, because I actually don't know this about you. How did you come to the path?
I actually came to the path by way of my first wife, who was what you might call wicked curious.
Okay.
There was a shop that was off 45th and Western called Explorer. It's no longer there, but it was within walking distance of the little house that we were in when we first got married. And she heard about a Wicca 101 class that was being hosted there by our mutual friend Emma. So,
okay.
And back in her Dianic days. So,
okay.
So Becky, she decided she wanted to go, and she went to the first class. She came back and was still in that kind of excited, looky, guess what I found? I wasn't really sure about it. And she challenged me and said, tell you what, go to the second class with me, and if you're not interested, I will never bring it up with you again.
Now let me cut you off real quick. Were you part of any kind of religion before this?
Before this, I grew up Catholic.
Okay.
Then I started questioning a lot of what I was being taught. Starting my mid-teens, how could things like the Holocaust and the Crusades and the Inquisition happen if we supposedly had this benevolent, loving God looking out for us?
Okay.
Well, the end result of that was my becoming a full-blown atheist.
Okay.
Deciding, well, if that God's not if God, because I had no concept of polytheism at the time, decided if this guy was going to allow these things to happen, either he was just a really sick SOB or he didn't exist. I decided he didn't exist, so I became an atheist. Then, early 20s, I came around to being more of an agnostic. I wasn't quite sure what it was, but I had had a few very interesting events that go on in my late teens and early 20s that made me decide, you know what, maybe there is something out there. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
And I was at that stage of my spiritual journey when I went to this Wicca 101 class with my first wife.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and something about it just made sense. Mm-hmm. If we're going to have it in the natural order of things, it takes both a father and a mother to create life. In a lot of the monotheistic belief systems, which is where a lot of us come from, mm-hmm. There's always this father, and certain interpretations of the Bible that I had heard about specifically state that God had made Adam in his image. This begged the question, in whose image was Eve created? Because the idea didn't just happen in a vacuum. Mm. So it led me to the idea that maybe it certainly lent a lot of credence to the idea of a quote-unquote Mrs. God, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. You have a divine father, why can't you have a divine mother in all of this?
Okay.
So that's when I started reading up on Wicca, and it made a little more sense to me. It made more sense to me than the monotheism ever did. I don't know what it was. It was almost like I'd kind of come home.
Okay.
Well, I am no longer Wiccan. My own spiritual journey on the path of paganism and polytheism and the nature of the gods and goddesses have led me more to an eclectic Hellenic type spirituality, which is where I borrow from various traditions, but I have a particular emphasis on the Greek because I've always been drawn to that particular civilization and culture, probably as a result of a couple of past lives somewhere.
So then your personal gods and goddesses are Greek.
For the most part, yes. Athena has definitely been one of those who, at one point in my life, had she not been there in 2007 when my wife left me for another guy, and 6 days after the divorce was finalized, my car got totaled. I was in shutdown. If it had not been for her slapping some sense into me and saying, "Hey, if you check out, who's going to take care of your pets?" and made me realize that there were some things that I wanted to do before I died, like finish college. She made me realize that I still had things to live for.
Okay.
So yeah, I was in a some people may not understand it. Some people may not care to understand it. But if it hadn't not been for my pagan faith, I would probably not be here having this conversation with you right now.
Okay. So first of all, I'm glad that you're here.
Me too.
I'm glad.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm just curious. Now that how long have you said 2007
was when my first marriage ended.
Okay, so then you were a baby witch in 2007.
I don't know if I would necessarily call myself a baby witch. I first really embraced the calling as polytheism in late 2000. So
interesting.
It was not too long after I actually got married to my first wife. I was pagan for most of my first marriage.
Oh, okay.
So
this has been a 14-year journey for you.
This has been it has been long, it has been enlightening, and at times very, very strange, to say the least. I'm going through a bit of a spiritual restructuring at this point. I've done that a few times in my life. What's one more?
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
While I am grateful to Athena for everything she's done, I think that my previous view of the Greek pantheon in particular had been kind of myopic, very narrow. I was getting kind of spiritual tunnel vision.
Okay.
So I'm going through and re-looking at incorporating some of the other deities more, giving the other deities a greater role in my own theology.
Now, other deities within the Hellenic tradition?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you might say, yeah, that is definitely primarily within the Hellenic traditions.
Okay. Okay, so then I guess it brings us up to date. Because you're actually, you've actually been on the path longer than I have, which is strange. I always thought that I was the veteran, but anyway.
I think we're all veterans in our own way. We all have things we can learn from each other. I think no matter where you are no matter where you are, there's always something to learn. There's always, no matter how much you have to teach other people, there is always something left for you to learn.
So true.
I think that's one of the things that really makes the pagan community here really as wonderful as it is. You're both a teacher and a student at the same time.
When the teacher teaches, two people learn.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
Because odds are that student has something to teach the teacher too.
So then let's get into it then. I'm curious as to how you feel,
Very nice. Weak. Okay, let's see. That's the whole
I
problem.
give it a 6.5.
Thank you.
I give it like a 3.
Wow, really? Only a 3? Those damn Russians.
I was raised with 2 younger brothers. I'm sorry.
Not just the damn Minnesota.
You Minnesotans up there, I tell you, they can't like it. Yeah, if it wasn't for the Minnesotans, I wouldn't be pagan.
That's okay. I'll give you that one.
So how is it coming from? I mean, you went from a monotheistic religion to atheism to agnosticism to a
Paganism.
to a polytheistic. So and by the way, it's an old saying that Catholics make the best witches because they know all about ritual.
Well, and the idea of venerating more than just a single being. They also have they have their own acknowledgement
of Mary.
Mary is, whether they choose to see it that way or not, we both Catholics and pagans recognize a feminine aspect to the divine.
Okay.
We just see it differently.
So, and that brings us to masculine. The masculine, incorporating that into into paganism and how you would do that. For those of you that are newbies that are listening, or who are on the outside looking in, it can seem at times that our religion is very, very female-centric, very goddess-centric. And if it's done right, FYI, that's not the case.
Mm-mm.
But from the outside looking in, it can seem that way. So starting out, back in 2000, was that your feeling?
I think even now, 14 years into my own walk on the path of polytheism, in all the various forms I've adhered to it, I think it's not nearly as female tilted as I originally thought it was, or as my initial experiences with it were. My first initial experiences with pagan study groups, and I was one of I was the only man in the group at one point, and there were anywhere from 6 to 8 women, and every so often we'd have 1 or 2 other guys come in and then turn around and leave. So for the most part, I was for a lot of times it was over. I did go into what you might call estrogen overload for a while. And I think there is a certain amount of validity to that outside perspective of the pagan traditions generally being very female dominant. Mm-hmm. And I think that's true to an extent, because a lot of pagan belief is empowering. Is empowering to women.
Sure.
It places women on an equal footing as men.
Right.
Depending on the traditions, some traditions tend to be a little bit more matriarchal than others. And I think to a certain extent that's to be expected, because with so many of us coming from the monotheistic traditions like we do, which are overwhelmingly patriarchal, It's kind of almost like a rubber band effect, if you will. It's that equal and opposite reaction to what you had before.
Right.
And I think over time we have seen more and more men come into the community, although I do think in some ways we are a little bit, in the grand scheme of things, what you might call underrepresented.
Well, do you think that that is an Oklahoma thing, or do you think that that is paganism in general?
Considering the vast majority of my own experiences with the Oklahoma pagan community, and judging from what I've read on the various sources on the interwebs, it seems to be a little bit. It seems to be a little bit more female tilted, but not so much female, quote unquote, dominant. I do think that there's a bit more of a little bit closer split between men and women now. And I don't know if that was always the case and I just didn't see it, or maybe just more men are starting to come into the fold.
Here in Oklahoma?
Yeah, at least here in Oklahoma.
Okay.
I mean, that might expand to nationwide. The only other thing I really know about pagan communities outside of the local areas is from what I've read.
Okay. So then, coming into this, and I know that I can speak to this, but you're the guest. What is it about being? How do you hold on to your masculinity, your identity as a man, within the confines of circle, within the confines of ritual, within the confines of spirituality, when it seems as if, by your own words, it's tilted more towards the feminine?
Well, I think more it's because of the tilting towards the feminine is as much because there's a greater body of work out there, at least in the pagan community from what I've seen, that is geared more towards dealing with things like the divine feminine and the role of women in spirituality and spiritual empowerment, the idea of women being not only spiritual, but spiritual leaders, in a sense. From my own personal experience, the vast majority of pagan clergy are women.
Okay.
At least from what I've seen. I think one of the ways I keep my own masculine identity, if you will, is I realize that that at least in our community, there is acknowledgement and active work towards maintaining a certain masculine-feminine balance, and not letting it go overwhelmingly one way or the other. Now, there are certain Sabbats and certain times a year where masculine and feminine energy is going to wax and wane.
Right.
Like during Midsummer, Beltane type rituals, that's when masculine energy tends to be at its peak.
Right.
Whereas in many traditions, when you start getting into things like Mabon and Yule, is when that masculine energy starts to wane. Because in many traditions, at least in when I was first started studying, in some traditions, that's when the god starts to age. He starts to grow old. He enters the eve of his life.
Right.
And then he dies, and then he is reborn again as a child at Yule.
Right.
At least at least in the Wiccan traditions.
Right.
On piece of information, did you know that more females, kind of tying in with it, and scientifically wise, there are more females born during this winter and fall months and kind of early spring, and more males during the later spring, summer, and early fall.
Interesting.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Just kind of.
So why don't you talk about? I know that there is a group out there, and
Caritas.
Yes, for men. Yes, Caritas.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that I thought was really. I thought that was one of the reasons that was great coming back into this community, having spent several years away, including having spent 4.5 years in Texas, was the opportunity to start or help start a men's group in our community. Because while we are all, well, just about every pagan man I know is very much about women's rights and women's equality and seeing the women as equals in their lives. The vast majority of groups, pagan groups in the pagan community, tend to be very female centric.
Right.
And so it's kind of nice, and that's something that many of us have noticed, that while we're all about the women in our lives and making sure that they have a spiritual home in this community, it's nice to have some place for us too.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons that Caritas came into being.
Right.
And you know all about it, Stephen.
Yes, it
was your baby. It was your brainchild.
Well, no, I know there's not a lot of details because there's a woman in the room, but what kind of things go on at Caritas? I heard some mention at the Labyrinth about some rituals, and I know that we did have a unified thing where there was food.
Mm-hmm.
So I know there's a lot of food.
We have a lot of man meals.
Yes, manly meals.
Yes, regardless of whether or not it's a just get together and have a good time night, or whether it's a right night.
And would someone actually have to be pagan to come?
No. While Caritas can at times be very pagan centric, it is open to not only pagan men but to male allies of all faiths and none. If they tend to be atheists, or if they pagan friendly atheists or agnostics. I know a few. I know a few of those in the community.
Excuse me.
Or at least around here in Oklahoma City.
Now, how would say we have a couple listeners, and I know right now this is our first time, and we're going to put this recording here on YouTube. But say we have a couple listeners in the Oklahoma City, Norman, Edmond area who would like to come to Caritas. Could they get a hold of either one of you and perhaps maybe check in?
Yes, and let me just say, and I've said this many times to the men, I am leader of Caritas only by default. I started the group, and therefore it is up to me to lead it.
Or at least give us some direction.
Right. So if there's anybody
Sounds
out,
like my department.
if there's anybody out there that would be interested in joining Caritas, we have a Facebook page. What you would need to do, and it's a closed group. So what you would need to do is you would need to find me, Stephen Dillard Carroll, on Facebook, friend me, and ask to be a part of the Caritas closed group, and I will add you. And in the closed group, you'll find information on it. Now, specifically to answer your question about what goes on in a Caritas meeting. What happens in Caritas stays in Caritas.
So it's kind of like the
as far
Moose
as
Lodge.
actual details go, what happens at Caritas, but like for instance, when we did, I'm not going to go into the gruesome details here, obviously, but we did a coming of age,
right,
for the son of one of our members.
Right, we had a coming of age ritual for one of, you're right, for one of our members' sons, and
things like that. I have no problem. I have no problem.
So it's
Right.
kind of like the Moose Lodge, only for pagans.
right,
Yeah.
or Shriners,
No, don't you guys remember the Moose Lodge on
Flintstones.
the Flintstones?
Of
Yeah.
course, yes.
Which, sidebar, this past weekend was the last weekend of Saturday morning cartoons.
Yes, I'm crushed.
Devastating.
I grew
Devastating.
up on cartoons, man.
Exactly. It just kills me that the network television no longer does Saturday morning cartoons. So if you missed it last weekend, you missed it. It's 50 years cartoons. Anyway, down the drain, damn it. No more Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, Reggie.
Anyway, Caritas.
Back to Curtis.
We have rituals surrounding every age group. We have rites of passages for every age group.
Particular milestones.
Yes.
Particular milestones.
Particular
in a man's life.
Exactly. Also, and our meetings vary or alternate between ritual night and just getting together night and having fun. So this next one that's coming up on October 18th is ritual night. No, we will not tell you what the ritual is about. Quite frankly, I don't even know what it's about because it's not my baby. Yay! It's not my baby. I don't have to write it.
It's someone else's baby.
But
Well, men are giving birth here. Oh my God!
it's apparently it's going to be some sort of Samhain ritual, and so anyway, and then we'll decide when we're going to meet again, which will probably be around Yule, and that will be just us getting together. So I encourage you that
And Hanukkah.
And ladies,
They confirm.
just a heads up, don't worry if men, they do have alcohol there, and I will know that ahead of time. But if they do drink too much, there is Stephen and the other guys I know personally, and not in Caritas, but outside of Caritas, they will take their keys and make them stay there overnight until they sober up.
right.
So, and it is a very safe environment, so nothing to worry about there, ladies.
Right. Let's see. We'll be meeting on the 18th. We'll be having a Samhain ritual, and then we'll be enjoying each other's company and eating a manly meal of some sort.
Something with lots of meat.
Yeah. Lots and lots of meat.
More meat.
Was that meat wrapped in meat and coated in bacon?
And dipped
Ugh.
in more bacon.
Bacon grease.
Oh, wait, do I still have my? Yeah, they're still there. My boobs are still on.
So anyway, back to the point of men's spirituality within paganism. The reason why I started it, Caritas, is exactly what Chris said, because there needs to be a sacred space just for men. And quite frankly, there needs to be a sacred space just for women. So I know that I know that Barbara was thinking about like having a movie night for the women while the men are out, doing manly stuff. I don't know how spiritual that'll be, but whatever. Maybe they'll all watch chick flicks and cry and do each other's hair and talk about men.
He'll probably be watching Magic Mike.
What do you mean he don't eat meat?
So anyway, if you're interested, get in contact with me. Facebook.com, Stephen Dillard Carroll.
Also, you can leave your notes in the messages below.
Yes, if you want to be a part of it, please comment in the section below, and I will try my best to get in contact with you before the 18th. Do you have any more questions for Chris tonight?
No, I asked him enough for now.
Okay, I think I'm done with him too for now.
We'll take
You're
care
done
of
with me to
you.
the next podcast, right, Steven?
Well, we might have someone else to replace you for the next podcast. What? I think for the next podcast would be a really good idea is to continue. I would like to hear how you became a pagan and what brought you this direction.
Well, maybe we'll do that.
Because that'd be a really good idea. And if you guys feel the obligation, put the notes. How did you become a pagan? And what brought you this direction? Put in the notes below.
Comments below. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming to Bitches in the Buckle.
Oh, you're welcome.
We really
I'm glad I could be here. I'm glad I could be the sacrificial lamb. I mean the guinea pig. I mean your guest.
Okay, Christopher.
All right, Judith.
Thanks for popping your
Thanks
cherry
for-
with us.
Thanks for helping us
baby.
pop our cherry. Wait, what?
It was fantastic.
Thank you for joining us. And coming special next week.
All right, so next week, no, actually, we should probably talk about, before we talk about what's happening next week, let's talk about what's going on with us as far as, shameless self-promotion.
Shameless self-promotion.
So, Steven, what have you got going on this weekend? Still week 5.
Those damn Russians or those damn Germans. Nothing. And oh God, 3.
I burp like a girl.
You are a girl.
Let's see. Oh no, I take that back. Labyrinth Temple. Like I said, my roommate and I have a temple. We have a walking labyrinth in the backyard. And twice a month, every other Wednesday, we have guided meditation classes. And we have one coming up on this Wednesday, 2 days from now.
That would be on the 8th, everybody.
Yes. On the 8th, we will be doing a guided meditation class. And here's the great thing. If you've never done meditation before, it's a great class to come to. I teach it, and you get to hear the smooth, dulcet tones of Stephen Dillard Carroll.
And I tell you, oh my gosh, if if there's one of the things that you can't do is meditate, you can meditate with him talking to you, or you'll feel the most relaxed you'll ever have felt in a while.
Right. And thank you for that endorsement. The next 4 classes, we will be focusing in on the 4 elements. So in 2 days, we'll be doing a guided meditation on water. And then 2 weeks from then, we'll be doing probably fire, and then probably air, and then we'll probably finish off with earth. So every 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on a different element for our meditation. Like I said, this week will be water. I encourage you to come on out. The Labyrinth Temple, we have not said this yet. The Labyrinth Temple is at 417 Northwest 25th Street here in Oklahoma City. That address again is 417 Northwest 25th Street in Oklahoma City. The guided meditation classes start at 7-ish. We're on pagan time, so it probably starts around 7:05. And I try to get you out of there around 8:15 at the latest. It is a free class. Again, it is absolutely free. However, a love donation will be taken up after the class is over. So if you can afford, whatever you can afford to give, give. If you can't afford anything, that's okay too. Come to the class anyway, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks for the next class. Again, it's love donation based. So
Twinkies are always welcome.
I'm sorry?
Twinkies are always welcome.
Twinkies, yes, because I shoot them, I mainline them like heroin. So it's fantastic. Do that. Bring me Twinkies. Let's see. What? I do.
Now, didn't you say that was earth, air, and fire that you're doing a meditation on?
Yes, I'm doing one for each, yes.
You mean like this one, kind of?
Earth, wind, and fire. Oh. Dance! Anyway, it'll be much more
than that.
Relaxed than that. But yes,
Hey, wait till after they're done with you.
We'll be doing water this week, and in 2 weeks we'll be doing another element, and then every 2 weeks we'll be doing one element for the next 4 classes. So I invite you to come out and join us every other Wednesday for that. I am also a tarot reader and spiritual advisor. You can find me at travelingtarot.com. That is travelingtarot.com, and tarot is spelled T-A-R-O-T. It's like carrot, only tarot, but it's pronounced tarot. Travelingtarot.com, and you can book an appointment via travelingtarot.com. My email address is traveler@travelingtarot.com. Feel free to say hello there. And let's see what else you can. Oh, also on travelingtarot.com, every page at the bottom of the page, you will find links to my Facebook page, my Twitter page, my Pinterest page.
He's quite Twitter-pated.
Yes, I am. I'm everywhere on social media, so feel free to friend me, like me, follow me, stalk me, send me naked photos, as long as you're 18 or above.
And you're male.
And you're a guy.
And good looking.
Otherwise, if you're a girl, I'll just send them to Joe and say, here you go.
No, because if you're a guy, I want to see him too. I'm sorry. What? Sorry, honey. Just kidding.
And let's see. Anything else that's going on this month? Oh, let me just say for the record, and I think I speak for Joe as well. We are available for parties.
And we could go together.
We
like
can either double team you, or we can be separate. Regardless, we are available for parties and get-togethers. I know we're at that time of the year where people are always starting to throw parties: Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Yule, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa parties. I encourage you that if you want to make your party stand out, to get
a reader.
Yeah, to get a card reader, especially around the Halloween time. I mean, how great would your party be if you had an actual psychic like me or Joe at your party? I encourage you to contact me at travelingtarot.com and set that up. And let's see, anything else going on with me? I don't think so. If you go to travelingtarot.com, you'll see my list of everything that's going on with me. Nothing else really comes to mind except that Bibs is our baby, Joe and mine baby. I do other radio shows here and there, but check travelingtarot.com for that. And that's it. And I will turn it over to Joe.
So, speaking on behalf of the Witch Hat Society,
Yes.
We do have a camp out this weekend, y'all. It is, we will be digging for crystals. It is the selenite crystals, which is only found in Oklahoma. In the Great Salt Plains. So I will be getting all salty this weekend. And I will be coming back on Monday and telling you how salty I got. Also, as Steven said, with his website, mine is claw-writings.com. It is a blog site. I have different layouts of the day. I also do on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I do an upside down cards where you guys post what you feel drawn to, and then on Thursdays, I post those answers. And then same thing on Saturdays and Sundays. So twice a week, I do a deal, and I also I'm as well a reader and a spiritual advisor. And eventually, I will be officially going into counseling as a knock on wood. If I can go into my master's, I will be working on a master's in therapy. So we will actually have a pagan therapist someday. Someday.
As God is my witness, I'll never pagan again.
Oh, I will always pagan.
Or whatever, I don't know.
As God is my witness, I will never make tea with ketchup again.
Amen.
Amen. But
Amen.
should you need to get in contact with me, I do have a number, and that number is 920-TARO-77. That is 920-TARO-77.
Is that 920-TARO-77?
That is 920-TARO, like carrot.
Only
like,
pronounced tarot.
Tarot, like carrot, only with a T. Or the 77, because 7 is lucky. Double time. And also on behalf of a couple of companies nearby, I do know that this weekend also they're having their I'm not sure if they are, but I know Bell's has officially moved.
Yes.
Bell's Mystical New Beginnings. They will eventually do a grand opening, and we will keep you in loop on that when that happens, y'all.
I smell a Bibbs road trip.
Woohoo! There. They might bar the doors if they show up and see us coming up.
I smell a Bibbs barbecue.
I smell a Bibbs barbecue coming up. And they are some of the nicest people. If you guys are in Norman and you need anything, they will hook you up. As far as that being said, next week.
Oh, next week, yes. I guess that's it for this week. Next week, I guess I'll be telling my story. My story. It's a beautiful story. It's a magical story.
Is it like the story of a dragon
and fairies
and how he got his puffs of string and?
It'll be magical. It'll be wonderful. It'll be beautiful. It will keep you up at night.
Screaming. Well, with that being...
I didn't think it was that kind of magic.
Well, on that note, everybody, it has been an all-time blessing, I tell you.
It really has
and
been.
Thank you for tuning in to our first show on Bibbs.
And we will see you next week on
the same bat time, same bat channel
on
Bibbs in the Buckle.
See bitch time, see bitch shit.